I've always struggled with that work-life balance, balancing my career and life, and as it turns out, it's something that's really hard. And sometimes I would lean in too much to family, sometimes I would lean in too much to work. I didn't learn how to fix it until recently. This is Dave from Innovative Life, where we're trying to help busy people understand technology and life. If you like my videos, please like and subscribe. I don't know where you are, but sometimes you really need to spend a lot of time with building your career and trying to figure out how to best do that. I'm a tech innovator, and over the last 10 to 15 years, I built a makerspace at our university. And as I built it, I was the first one to bring 3D printing to our audience and try to figure out how to develop what they were doing. And really bringing that idea to life took a lot of time and a lot of energy. I remember one night where I had to stay late to get things done. My wife was generous enough to bring dinner, but I had to spend all night being there, getting things done, and even sleeping on the floor to really develop this idea and make it a reality for our students and our faculty to really understand what hands-on learning and makerspaces were all about. But as I leaned into it, I got more involved and I got excited about it. But then I had work suffer at some points because family would suffer, because I then leaned back into family. And when we don't have the right work-life balance, we're not going to be successful. And that's one of those things I really figured out as I started to do it. And I had to remember the advice my father gave me years and years ago. When you get into your career, love what you do. If you don't love what you do, you're going to hate it. And you're not going to really enjoy it. You spend more time with people at work than you do with people at home sometimes. And you have to find something you love. If you don't love it, don't do it. Because that's really the key thing. And I have to say, since he told me that, I really started to understand what it meant to really like work and want to be more involved. I've always wanted to be dedicated to doing something that I really enjoyed doing. I didn't want to do something that was just okay. But recently I had a change in work and my work situation that they closed our innovation spaces due to budgets, so it's not a big deal. And I ended up in a different position, but it made me really start to reconsider what I want to do from a work-life perspective. And I decided to start looking at how I was managing my life and really readjust it. First thing I noticed was I needed to take email off my phone. I was checking email all the time. At night, on weekends, when I was away from work, I was still checking email. So I had to put in a roadblock to do that. So I took all of my work stuff and I put it into an imaginary box. I ended up saying, you know what? I have to be able to close this imaginary box once in a while so that I can dedicate to family when I'm not doing work. So what I did was I removed work email from my phone and I made it almost impossible to get to. Of course, there's always ways, but made it rather difficult. I also have Google Chat on my phone because that's what we use in our organization to chat a whole bunch. I set it to do not disturb when I'm not at work. That key has helped me to be able to close that imaginary box so work gets put aside when I'm home with family and I'm not working. And by doing that was a first step. The second, I made an imaginary box for my family. And that's where I spend time with family, friends, going to events and everything else. And I became actively involved. I started actively listening to what was going on in my son's life and in my wife's life and in other family and friends. And I found like I became a better friend because of it. Because I was able to better focus and understand where it was going. And as I did that, I started to realize there was another box that kind of emerged that I didn't know was there. One of those things that if you would ask me 2 years ago what hobbies I had, and I said I have none. My hobby is my work. I spend all my time doing that. And I started to realize with this change, that's not all what work-life balance will give us. So many young people are spending time with doing other things because they're balancing their work and they're enjoying remote work so much. So I ended up having to find what are those interests and hobbies. So I started making a new imaginary box for interests and hobbies, and I needed to figure out what those were. So I took an online test, and as you can imagine, online tests just really didn't give me any answers. An online test said, Dave, you like technology. I'm like, no brainer. Of course I like technology. I have a Mac, I have an iPad, I have an iPhone. Obviously I love technology. I play with it a ton. I enjoy that. So that became one of those hobbies that I started to do, and I started to lean into it. And I said, what can I do with that hobby? What can I play with? So I've started doing content creation. It's kind of fun, and I'm enjoying using the technology in a different way. But was there more to my hobbies than that? I also realized I love to write. How did I figure that out? Well, I went back to my high school days and I started looking at notes I had saved from high school. And I had always written little daily entries, journals, keeping track of what I was doing. And so that was an interesting thing that I started to do. I knew at that point, and even now, I have difficulty figuring out what words to say, when to say it. My vocabulary is not as large as other people, just because I think the way my brain works, but I love doing it to try to get words together and understand it. So I knew writing had to be another thing added to that hobby box. And then I was stuck. As we all get, we get stuck in trying to figure out what the next thing is that we want to do and how to do that. And as I was doing it, I started looking more at the technology side, and I realized I love playing with AI and how AI works. I understand how the software works, and I understand where that is. And then I stumbled upon something that I realized I've been doing forever. I've been teaching. I've been teaching as an adjunct for like 15 years at different universities, and I enjoy it. I love seeing in a student's eyes when they get a concept that they didn't understand, or when they practice something through an active learning exercise and they realize how that concept that they just did goes back to another concept they learned. It really feels like they got something that they didn't understand before. And I was thrilled by actually doing it. And I realized I'm an educator. I've always been, in some way, liking giving back to students and seeing them realize what was going on. So as I started to do it, I figured out that that was in my third box. That third imaginary box was hobbies and everything else. And as I started to manage these boxes effectively, I started to have a better balance in my days, and my work-life balance was better. And I was actively more engaged into what I was doing. I got rid of multitasking primarily in every part of my life. So when I was in the work box, I was basically focused on that. Now, you can't get rid of multitasking all the time. There are still times to do it. But I found when I was not multitasking, I was able to get more work done. I was more focused, and I was able to do it. The same with the family. I was able to be more engaged there. And the same with my hobbies. I was able to focus and do it. If you can manage your time effectively, you're going to be better. This is why we as busy people have to better balance. And my way of doing it was setting up these 3 imaginary boxes that I can restrict and close and open when I need to. You have to do the same and figure out what works for you. What do you think really is going to change the way your work-life balance works so you can understand it? This is Dave from Innovative Life. I think you can really make a change. You just have to step on it. I like the box method, but you tell me what you like in the comments below. Have a great day.